The Central Bank of Nigeria has opened applications for the second cohort of its Regulatory Sandbox Programme running from August 12 to 31, 2026. The program introduces two tracks, virtual asset service providers covering stablecoins, payment wallets and custody, and data-enabled financial services focused on digital infrastructure, data sharing, financial inclusion, and credit. The CBN says participants will test innovations under controlled conditions with safeguards for consumers, cybersecurity, and financial stability. The initiative aims to deepen regulatory understanding, support responsible fintech innovation, and strengthen Nigeria's digital financial ecosystem without granting participants operating licenses. This morning, we're joined by Olaniyi Atose, who is the CEO of KoinKoin, and Olubunmi Fabanwo, the convener, Africa Blockchain Festival. Gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us.
Good morning. Good to see you.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, you're welcome. Let me start with Mr. Atose. Now, what opportunities would you say the CBN's second regulatory sandbox cohorts create for Nigerian fintechs and startups, particularly those developing virtual asset solutions?
I think it's a perfect opportunity. As you know, we've been an advocate of getting the central authorities involved in this space as far back as 2020. And we're very excited to see that the central bank obviously took the initiative initially on the 1st of April, inviting some of us to the VASPA pilot for AML and CTF. And now secondarily setting up a sandbox where they've invited everyone who's in this space to actually make an application. And of course, make the integration with the test API, which I believe is live on the CBN portal right now. So I think this is a really, really good opportunity for everyone who wants to be involved in this space to get involved, integrate with the test API, of course, but most importantly, make your case as to why you should be included, as part of this second cohort, given that we were part of the first. So I think it's a grand opportunity for the space. We've been advocating for such a long time for this to happen in the wake of the president's executive order, which harmonizes all the agencies in this space. I think it's a brilliant opportunity for the young innovators in Nigeria to apply and, see how far they can go in the application process.
Okay, Mr. Fabanwo, let's come to you now. The CBN has now, created a dedicated VASP track covering virtual assets, stable coins, payments, wallets, and custody, as I mentioned earlier. How significant is this development for the growth of Nigeria's virtual asset ecosystem?
Yeah, thanks a lot. I agree with Mr. Olatoshe. This is very significant. And for those that do not know, the VASP track is for companies that are building products specifically in virtual assets, stable coins, payment, settlement, custody, wallets, anything that has to do or touches crypto. And I believe that you obviously require live testing before you can get full licensing. So I think this opportunity is really great for the companies to practically show what exactly it looks like, show the organization, show the regulator, and basically the regulators what exactly it means to be able to run on this particular technology. Global stablecoin infrastructure providers that want to enter the Nigeria market in a compliant way. This is the best way to be able to show them how Nigeria is ready, to be able to operate legally and not necessarily in the gray area, which has always been the case for maybe the past 5 to 6 years. And I believe that, once again, it's a really great opportunity. I think this particular cohort or track is important for companies also using data infrastructure, which is very relevant for open finance, which I'm a big advocate of when it has to do with credit payments and inclusion. So on both sides, both on the VASP side and the data-enabled side, I think it's a wonderful opportunity.
Okay, Ola, so of course, Olubunmi just mentioned how this will bring about great opportunities, but then let's still dwell more on this, most especially with the virtual asset service providers tracking, of course, which is specifically meant to provide supervised testing for these virtual assets. Now, when you consider them, which one do you think would provide more opportunities in terms of innovation and investments, not only for Nigeria now, but then when you look at Africa?
Yes, so of course, one of the things that investors tend to look at in any jurisdiction is to see if there's some sort of maturity in the legalized framework, for regulation of these assets. And now in 2026, I'm pleased to say that we are stepping into what I would call the second era, certainly for Africa, certainly, for Nigeria and of course Ghana and beyond in Kenya, where there are robust frameworks which have been put together, and this in and of itself is a calling card for investors to take a hard look at this space and in essence take it seriously. There's a lot of background work that we've been doing over many years to get us to where we are. And I, for one, I'm very happy to see what the central bank is doing. I'm also very keen on the developments we've seen from the Security and Exchange Commission, along with the other bodies. So the reality is Nigeria is now at the table. The sector is huge at $96 billion. $43 billion of that is stablecoins in Nigeria per annum. So in essence, whether we like it or not, this sector is in essence the largest sector, the largest vertical in Nigeria right now. So there is common sense in the agencies, the Central Bank of Nigeria, the Security Exchange Commission, NFIU, ONSA, NRS. There is common sense in them coming together, harmonizing, and actually putting their arms around this space to make sure things are done properly. The world is watching as far as Africa is concerned. The world is watching as far as Nigeria is concerned, Nigeria being the #2 market for adoption and indeed for volume. I think it's pertinent that, our governing bodies and the regulatory bodies come on board, which they have. And the onus is now on VASPs like ourselves to work closely with them, to aid them in the discovery process, which is what this is, and to ensure that things are done accordingly and appropriately. So this is, a very necessary step, which, I personally find very exciting and certainly very happy about the development. And, we will continue to remain at the disposal of the agencies to ensure that things are done properly. But in all, to answer your question, it is now a critical time to really look at the space. This second era for digital assets in Nigeria is going to take a completely different shape in comparison to what we've seen over the last 10 years. And I think it's an opportunity now, again, for investors to take a strong, hard look at what we're about to, where we are and what companies like KoinKoin are about to achieve. And, see, what that would do, of course, not just for the ecosystem of virtual assets, but indeed for, for Nigeria. And in our case, given that we are in the sandbox in Ghana, right. For the West African corridor, right? So I think the time is now, and it's exciting.
We're still talking about regulations, most especially as we look at the controlled space when it comes to these products or these offerings. But Olubunmi, let me come to you. Now, the second track focuses on data-enabled financial services, including lending, payments, risk management, settlement solutions, and some other, perks, associated with this. There are also issues around payments, risk management, as I said earlier, and financial inclusion. So what business opportunities do you think can emerge from the CBN's emphasis now on permission-based data sharing?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that open finance, for example, is something that we've not really explored in Nigeria compared to other jurisdictions that have similar size in terms of economy, like Nigeria, and similar numbers of users and players within the finance space or the banking space, so to say. And so in terms of opportunities, obviously credit, I feel like is the number one, and is the biggest indicator of how well or how structured the financial ecosystem of a country is. So I believe that there are more credit opportunities here for players and also for users, businesses. And then credit is basically not restricted to only traditional financial organizations. And so away from that too, I believe payments and inclusion is also opportunity. There are several opportunities within that space, and seeing how crypto is now gaining a lot of structure in the country, I believe that the synchronization of traditional payments of credit and also in the crypto ecosystem helps a lot in financial inclusion. So I believe that this particular track really complements the VASP. Obviously, we are more mature in this space than the crypto space, but going hand in hand, I think that it gives us a lot of opportunity. I'm especially excited about the opportunities that would come, especially with credit, seeing that Nigeria is becoming a very mature financial ecosystem. A lot of investors will be interested in seeing how they can play around that. And I believe that the CBN is actually driving in the right direction, bringing both tracks together and seeing how players and operators can play within them.
Okay. Now, Ola, the sandbox, according to reports, allows innovators to test products under CBN supervision before wider deployment. So how can this controlled testing process help fintechs develop products that are both commercially viable and are compliant with regulatory requirements?
Yeah, so the central bank in this sandbox are going to be looking at a number of things. First of all, they'll be looking at the KYC or KYB process that the VASPs are employing, how it's done, and there are a number of bits to how it should be done. And of course, I don't want to go into the detail, but the authorities are looking largely at anti-money laundering, counter-terrorist financing. Processes which firms have in place. It's a very robust, API process which they built, which will plug into platforms such as ours, and then they'll have the ability to get reports or do direct reporting as the general public interact with a platform such as ours. So that's the first case. They'll also be looking at trades, from a transaction reporting perspective, and I'll just mention very briefly that transaction reporting or indeed trade reporting is a standard, a global FATF standard, which is applied in multiple jurisdictions across the world. So the CBN will be looking at that. They'll be looking beyond just transactions at deposits and withdrawals. Generally, this allows the central bank to have a general idea, a view of what's going on in the space, what the volumes look like, what the flows like, and how best to manage it going forward. So as I mentioned, it's it's a discovery phase, for the authorities, and it will inform them how best to manage those who get full licenses going forward. So what do we mean by that? So from a perspective of insurance, what sort of insurance is needed? These are things that the central authorities will be able to look at, and come up with, bearing in mind that, digital assets, virtual assets in and of themselves are different and new kind of assets. The world is dealing with it in different ways, but we're all coming into this space with knowledge from the traditional finance space, which of course is helping us inform what we will be doing and what we expect the regulators to be doing in this space as well. So there's a lot for us to find out as we move through the process. And again, we're eager to get started.
Yeah, definitely. Even the CBN has said that, all participants will have to participate and, of course, comply with the rules binding, of course, on this particular project, most especially as we are hoping that it would improve on cybersecurity, consumer protection, and of course, operational resilience of the players within the sector. Well, that's how much conversation we are going to be having over this. Definitely, we are going to come back on the part 2 to look at how the fintechs and the startups are thriving with this launch of the Sandbox Cohort 2, and definitely we'll bring you guys to talk more about it. Thank you so much, Olaniyi, Atose, CEO, KoinKoin, and Olubunmi, Fabanwo, Convener, Africa Blockchain Festival, for sharing your thoughts with us on this. We appreciate that.